mummy's with the maggots now.
Death has come to your little town, Sheriff.
Well, hi there.
Hello, and welcome to Would You Die, the show where we ask you, do you want to shave? I'm Austin Torres.
And I'm Anneliese Petersmark.
And today... Okay, guys. Today... I'm sorry.
It's that bad, huh?
Listen. I don't like being a hater. So, I live my life by a very certain motto. I get it from the Book of Thumper.
Okay.
If you can't say anything nice,
Don't
say anything at all.
And yet here we are. We're about to do a podcast episode on it.
So Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd is a movie.
The demon barber of Fleet Street.
Correct.
You know, I grew up off of Fleet Street.
I did not know that.
That was also a lie.
Why do you say things?
I don't know. It pops in my head and it comes out my mouth and we record it and publish it on the internet for everyone to hear.
And that's the podcast. So today we're going to be talking about Sweeney Todd. I'm sure you can already tell Austin's feelings on this movie. If it makes you all feel better, if you are a Sweeney Todd fan, I do not have such harsh feelings for this movie. Austin does. I agree with a lot of his critiques, which we will get into, but I don't think it makes it the movie that he thinks it makes it. So,
It might.
Maybe. So if you've never seen Sweeney Todd, we're going to get into it. We're going to jump right into it. But it is a musical movie, which I believe this is our first musical. Yes?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it will not be our last, but it is our first.
As someone who loves musicals, I can guarantee it will not be our last.
Correct. Especially because of the way Austin reacted to this. We can't end on this note in terms of horror movie musicals.
And on this note, hey.
You got it. So if you've never seen Sweeney Todd, the basic premise is that there is this barber named
Sweeney Todd.
No, that was your cue to do your Benjamin.
Oh, Peter Parker.
And you fucked it up.
Wait. Oh, fuck. Yeah. I said that earlier, too.
You did.
What's it? Ben.
Yeah.
Ben.
Benjamin.
Benjamin Barker. I don't know why, but I go like, he says it so excitedly, but I can't impersonate Johnny Depp. It just ends up sounding like, ooh, yeah. Macho Man Randy Savage.
It does. Okay. So,
Benjamin Barker.
So there is a barber named Benjamin Barker who is happily in love with his wife and his child. Lucy and Joanna.
I watched the movie.
You did. And meanwhile, an evil judge named Judge Turpin wants his wife and child. And so he accuses him.
Yes.
Convicts him of a crime he did not commit and transports him to Australia. 15 years later, he returns calling himself Sweeney Todd and he vows revenge. He starts shaving again and applies his razor to unlucky customers and then shuffles the bodies down to Mrs. Lovett, who uses them in her meat pie shot.
Cannibalism, folks.
Not shot.
Cannibalism.
It's a main theme of this one.
You want to know something funny?
What?
For context, in our recording space right now, we have a baseball game on, which I can see in the background. And the guy at bat is named Sweeney.
Trey! That's so funny. I didn't even think about that. You're totally right.
So we're talking about Sweeney Todd, and I'm staring at this guy, my boy.
My boy Trey Sweeney.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I had to point that out. It was like a perfect moment.
That is, I didn't even think about that. That is hilarious.
Sydney Sweeney Todd.
Sydney Sweeney Todd. Trey Sweeney, Sydney Sweeney Todd.
That's a mashup I need in my life right now.
This is a side note, but people have been making shirts with like they would say Sydney Sweeney, but then they will have Trey Sweeney like on them. And then they do the same for another player of ours because his name is Carrie Carpenter. And so they'll put Sabrina Carpenter and then put pictures of Carrie on there. And I think both of those are very funny. Nothing to do with Sweeney Todd, but very funny.
But let us know in the comments if we were to make Sydney Sweeney Todd shirts, would anyone buy them?
I would wear the shit out of a Sydney Sweeney Todd shirt. It's just, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. That was...
If you steal our idea, I'd be very sad.
Be really upset about it.
Yeah, help us pay off our student loans, guys.
Please. Oh, God.
Buy our Sydney Sweeney Todd shirts.
So, Austin, would you like to tell the class what your personal connection is to this movie? I
watched this movie yesterday. I have never seen it before.
And you've never listened to the music?
No, it was my first time. I was aware of the musical because it's kind of a big deal. Mm-hmm. If there were like a top 10 most famous musicals of all time,
it would be on it.
I think this is on it.
Yeah.
I don't want to try and make that list right now. That'll take us forever.
Maybe a Patreon bonus episode.
I do love musicals, but like I feel like a safe top 3 would be West Side Story, Phantom of the Opera, Les Mis. Not necessarily in that order, but off the top of my head. And then, like, Wicked is up there. I was going to say, Hamilton is up there.
Wicked and Hamilton are probably in the top 10. But, yeah, I definitely
Sound of Music, maybe. Grease, maybe.
Yeah.
But Sweeney Todd, I think.
As far as Broadway productions go, especially, Sweeney Todd is up there.
Yeah. The ones with movie adaptations.
Exactly.
And I'm not counting if it was a Disney musical first.
No.
So, Lion King, Aladdin.
Frozen.
A Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Great shows. But I don't really consider them in this camp.
Correct. Yeah, I agree.
Little Shop of Horror, maybe?
I don't think top 10. I think maybe top 20.
The movie is pretty big, though. But it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking from like not from a musical theater standpoint. I'm thinking from like your average Joe Bob.
That's fair.
What has he heard of? And I think Little Shop might be I don't know if... Let us know if you think of Little Shop or Sweeney Todd first. Because I always think of Little Shop first.
That's fair. I just think if you are talking, again, about like Broadway musicals and not movies, then we're thinking Sweeney Todd.
Then, yeah. Oh, I definitely agree there. Because I don't even think Little Shop of Horrors went on Broadway.
I think it did, but I think the movie came first.
But movie-wise, I think the two are comparable. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, it is an iconic musical. Mm-hmm. But no, I've never seen it. I've never listened to the music. As we've talked about on this podcast before, I do have a slight aversion to Tim Burton films.
Yeah. But
I like to go in with an open mind. Mm-hmm. I wanted to turn this off 10 minutes in.
That's crazy.
It was not a fun night.
Sorry, bud. Sorry I did this to you.
I wanted to like it.
He's never going to let me plan another month again, you guys. All because of this movie. Despite the fact that he liked the other 3. I want to point that out.
That is true. I loved Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah.
And I liked Sleepy Hollow.
Mm-hmm.
Sleepy Hollow gave me faith in Tim Burton.
And then this took it away.
Oh, that's an understatement.
That's fair.
You know the clip from Brooklyn Nine-Nine where the Andre Braugher character is like, what is it, validation? Vindication?
Vindication.
That's me right now.
I need you guys to know that off mic, when Austin came in and I asked him how he liked this movie, his exact words were, well, it is not my least favorite Tim Burton movie.
It isn't.
Because Alice in Wonderland still exists.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at in terms of bars.
And Planet of the Apes.
That's okay, fair. 2 underneath this one. I'll take it.
And Edward Scissorhands. Moving on.
This is better than Edward Scissorhands in your heart?
I liked it more.
That's insane. Anyway, whatever. Okay, moving on. So my personal connection to this movie. Nobody asked, but I'll tell you.
No. What's your personal connection
Thanks for asking. So I was a musical theater nerd. I don't really remember the first time that I listened to this soundtrack because I was young. I love Sondheim, and especially in high school, I was a pretty big Sondheim nerd. I was in the pit for a production of Into the Woods.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I've never seen Into the Woods.
That one's one of my favorites. I don't know. The movie adaptation is probably better than this one, but I don't know that
I need to watch it.
I don't know if the movie adaptation is the best way to experience it for the first time.
Okay.
But there are filmed cast recordings that you can watch. So
cool.
That might be something we can do. But loved the music. Definitely watched this when I was still in high school, but I don't exactly remember when. I just always have known that I have really loved the music in Sweeney Todd. So that's kind of my origin.
I like it. Good origin.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into the historical context because we're going to talk about how this fits into our gothic horror genre.
Yes.
So we talked kind of about this last week, but when I was talking about things that had the same vibe, I mentioned the show Penny Dreadful.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that a Penny Dreadful was a type of magazine. It was sold for a couple cents a week. It was like a weekly serial thing. So you would buy it from your newspaper guy and you would get it, and you would, like, it usually had stories of intrigue. And Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street, is a character that comes from a Penny Dreadful. The Penny Dreadful that he comes from is called The String of Pearls, a romance, which is about pretty much exactly what it says on the tin. It is about Sweeney Todd, who comes back from Australia and tries to seek his revenge by cutting people's necks, string of pearls, to get back to his love. And he has this connection with Mrs. Lovett, who is also in the original story. So it's all very, very much similar to the musical.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from originally, is these Penny Dreadfuls. And so that's something that I really enjoy about this specific genre of movie, this gothic horror, is a lot of the stories that we've talked about, with the exception of Crimson Peak, come from like stories originally.
Yeah, because Sleepy Hollow is a legend. Interview with the Vampire comes from a book.
It's a book. Yep.
From the 70s, so it's not
Yes.
quite it. But vampires are, folklore.
Right. Well, and this is the thing, is even Crimson Peak, it borrows stuff from other stories and stuff.
Definitely.
So, but yeah, so this is kind of a really good one-to-one. That's where it comes from. And then it wasn't really touched on or explored until 1970, when Christopher Bond decided to write a play about it. And the play was on Broadway for a little bit, but didn't really, take off or anything until 1976, when Stephen Sondheim wrote the musical, set it to music, put it on Broadway, and it became really the cult classic that it is today in the Broadway world. I wouldn't even say cult classic.
I feel
classic.
like it's because normal people know Sweeney Todd. I feel like a majority of people like Sweeney Todd.
Yes.
And I'm going to go on the record and say I hated watching the movie. But today, while I was at the day job, I put on some of the albums, like the original cast recording, the recent one they did with Josh Groban. I like the musical, actually.
Yeah.
It makes me kind of dislike the movie a little more.
So let's talk about this before we get into our topic of Macabre May. Do you want to give your critiques now, or do you want to wait?
I could just sprinkle them in as we go along.
Okay.
But we could do the main one.
Okay.
Before we go into it. And I've realized this today, because when I was watching it yesterday, I thought I didn't like the musical. I thought I didn't like the music. And I'm listening to different versions of it today, and I'm like, no, wait, the music's actually pretty good. I don't like the casting.
Fair.
Not to say I don't like the cast. That's a different...
I think if this had been just a straight play adaptation, from Christopher Bond's play, it may have been a really great cast.
I think easy 4-star film.
Right.
And I don't want to say I don't like the cast because, Johnny Depp can sing.
But not this type of music.
Sondheim is hard.
Yeah, it's... if you're not a musical theater or a singer or somebody who knows a lot about music, you may not know this, Sondheim is very vocally difficult to sing. There's a lot of notes. It is a lot of weird rhythms and like strange, what am I trying to say? Like octaves, not octaves, but like strange note jumps. Like, I can't think of what I'm trying to say, but it makes intervals. Thank you. That's the word. Strange note intervals. And
I almost said lip slurs.
I know. I was like, I can't think of a single thing I'm trying to say.
Once a brass player, always a brass player.
Real. So it makes it really hard to sing. And unfortunately, this cast, while a great cast and filled with a lot of amazing actors, nobody in this cast is primarily a singer.
Because, like, people rag on the Phantom of the Opera from 2004, the Joel Schumacher, specifically Gerard Butler as the Phantom. But Patrick Wilson comes from Broadway.
Yeah.
That dude can sing. Emmy Rossum, an actual opera singer.
Beautiful voice.
So,
which is crazy because most people know her from Shameless and they'll never know how beautiful her voice is.
Right, but...
Anyway, that's not the point.
She's a classically trained opera singer.
Yeah.
That movie has, like, legit vocal talent. People dog on Gerard Butler as a Phantom, who I think... I mean, he's no Colm Wilkinson, but he's, fine, I think. I think everyone who likes Sweeney Todd deserves him an apology. Because this is like a bunch of Gerard Butlers with no Emmy Rossums, no Patrick Wilsons. Or if you guys are into Les Mis, it's like if the whole cast was Russell Crowe. And you don't have any Hugh Jackmans or Anne Hathaways.
I think the only differences with those movies versus this one is having one actor who cannot really sing amongst a group of superstars.
Right.
Makes it stand out a lot more. Whereas this one, everyone's kind of on equal footing with it.
But
I'll
the
be
equal
honest.
footing's bad.
I'm not saying it's a good thing.
It's not their fault either.
I'm just saying I think that might be.
So maybe the better comparison would be La La Land?
Yeah.
But
maybe.
Where I think La La Land, because like Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling are fine singers.
Yeah.
I would even say Ryan Gosling's a good singer.
I was going to say, everyone really shit on Ryan Gosling when that movie came out. I think he's the stronger singer of the two, and that's my secret. But
I just think The City of Stars has him singing so low.
I agree.
And that's hard.
I will say, though, with that one, the music is not as difficult.
It ain't Sondheim.
Sondheim is not sing-along music. I mean, you can do it, and trust me, I do. But, it's not for that.
Yeah, I ain't gonna try.
La La Land was written almost explicitly to be...
It was written with the cast in mind.
Right, it was written with the cast in mind. And, obviously Sondheim did not know that this movie was going to be made 40 years after, or 30 years after he wrote the musical, so he couldn't. But, there should have been more considering. My hot take is if you were going to make a musical movie, there are so many talented Broadway actors and singers that you can get for your musical movie that you don't need to hire people who are really good at acting but can't sing. You just don't.
And you know what movie was just a smash hit? Was nominated for a shit ton of Oscars and is universally beloved? Wicked.
What?
You know what that movie did?
Hired singers?
Like, top of the top Broadway star Cynthia Erivo. And one of the biggest pop stars in the past, 20 years? Ariana Grande?
Yeah. Not to mention, oh my God, why can't I think of his name? Mr. Bridgerton.
Is that Jonathan Bailey?
Jonathan Bailey.
He's going to be in the new Jurassic Park.
Yeah, who got his start on Broadway. Andrew Barth Feldman, who, as much as we may, have our opinions about him outside of this, was SpongeBob on Broadway.
That motherfucker?
Yeah, which is, vocally a challenging role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, you can't do that voice for, 8 shows a week and not, know how to use your voice.
Exactly.
So... yeah, I think this is the thing, is in 2008, they hadn't learned this lesson, and now I think they have, to some extent, because you're seeing more Broadway actors reprise these roles. Even, this movie was not commercially successful, nor do I think it should have been, because of the fact that I think he was too old to play the role, But I do think that one of the things that they did right with Dear Evan Hansen was that they got somebody who played Dear Evan Hansen on Broadway to do the role. I don't think it should have been Ben Platt because I think he was too old to play a high schooler on a movie screen. It's not the same as like on a stage where you can do stage makeup, you know?
Exactly.
And they had younger...
Where 40-year-olds play 12-year-olds all the time.
Right. They had younger people play Dear Evan Hansen on Broadway who could have done that role, but I do think the fact that they got a professional singer was a good thing.
It's interesting how these different movies do, because like Les Mis gets like generational talent. Hugh Jackman, Anne Hathaway has been, she's been known to be a singer.
I was gonna say she sung before. She was in Ella Enchanted, which is like, you know, you can say that's not like a big, huge musical movie, but she had proven she could sing. Is my point. She
was almost Christine.
Yeah.
Over Emmy Rossum. But I think she did The Princess Diaries instead. Yeah. I think that was a scheduling issue, so we got...
Thank God for that.
Which I love The Princess Diaries.
I was going to say, not because I think she should have been in Phantom, or she shouldn't have been in Phantom or anything, but just because The Princess Diaries were my life as a teenager.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
But, so that stuff happens. But, like, then they cast Russell Crowe. Yeah. Who is not known to... Great actor. But not known to be... But then they take... I don't remember her name. Samantha Barker, I think?
Yeah, I think so.
Who plays Eponine?
Eponine, yeah.
Who... They literally take her from Broadway.
Yeah. I don't think Russell Crowe was terrible in that movie the way that everybody else does. But I do think, like, again... Yeah. When you have one person who is weaker than everybody else, it shows so much more.
I think he would have been right at home in the Sweeney Todd cast.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was a very big chore for me to get through this movie yesterday.
That's super fair.
And it's hard for me to appreciate the other aspects when I'm when I'm like dialed in on that.
What I will say about that is if you are somebody who likes musicals, but you are not somebody who is into like doing music, all of the people in this movie can carry a tune. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no one here is a bad singer.
No.
They're all better than me. I'll say that.
So I do think that like this movie is worth watching if you are not somebody who is going to like Austin. This is going to sound really pretentious, even though I don't mean it to. Like, everybody has their own proclivities, but Austin and I are both musicians. We can't help it when we're listening to music to judge the quality of the music. If you are not somebody who is musically inclined and you just enjoy musicals, I don't think this is a bad movie, and I think you'll have a good time.
I think there's also an added thing where I, just due to my taste, do not generally care for Tim Burton movies to begin with.
Right.
So this movie's already fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah.
But, you know, I did want to like it. I promise I did.
That's fair.
But watching this movie was like dunking Oreos into orange juice. I like those things, but together was rough. Was rough, yeah.
That's fair.
So let's get into it.
Let's get into our topic. Macabre May, last one. I had a lot of fun this month. I had a really good time talking about all of the similarities between these movies.
It was a great month, yeah.
So I've had a really good time. I'm really excited that I could have programmed this month. I'm looking forward to in the future doing that again, but I'm also excited to see.
Yeah, that Tim Burton month's gonna go crazy.
It's gonna go fucking stupid, you guys.
It's just 4 straight weeks of Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland 2, Planet of the Apes, Sweeney Todd again. Let's go.
Sweeney Todd again.
Bonus episode, Edward Scissorhands.
I actually think that movie is called Sweeney Todd, Here We Go Again.
That was a very good joke, bud. Thanks, friend.
Can I admit something?
Is it that you've never seen Mamma Mia?
I kind of seen it.
What does that mean?
Like, he knows the song.
Well, I love ABBA. But, like, the one Mamma Mia experience I have, where was I? I think I was on a study abroad trip.
I want everybody to know before he gets into this story that last summer, my friend Lindsay and I invited him to go see Mamma Mia in theaters, and he didn't come with us because he was quote unquote too busy. So he had the opportunity to have a better Mamma Mia experience than whatever he's about to describe. Go.
I don't remember this.
I don't care that you don't. I do.
I stand by it, but I don't remember it. But I believe it was on a study abroad trip. And I don't remember why I was there. I do remember why I was there. We were gonna go see Les Mis. I was a teaching assistant. Actually, I do remember. We were gonna go see Les Mis. I was a teaching assistant, and I wanted to go see Les Mis, and I offered the opportunity to the student group,
Mm-hmm.
and the only ones that were interested were the girls.
Yeah.
So while they were all getting ready, me being I was 20 something at the time, but me being a young man in my 20s,
Mm-hmm.
all I did was put on a nice dress shirt, some like khakis or something, put my dress shoes. I was ready.
Yeah.
But the girls had to get actually ready.
Yeah.
So it takes them a lot more time. It takes me 10 minutes. So while they're getting ready, they have Mamma Mia on. And as I'm waiting for them to I'm watching Mamma Mia, I'm like, hey, this is pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
But I didn't
come
finish
with us
it.
to see the movie last summer.
I didn't finish it because we went out to
Watch
go-
Les Mis, yeah.
Yeah, and that was amazing.
What a great musical to see live, yeah.
But anyways, that's my Mamma Mia experience.
Since we're on the tangent, what is your favorite musical you've ever seen live?
That is a great question. I have to think about it. No, I don't. I would. So, my favorite musical is different from my favorite musical that I've seen live.
Of course, yeah. But what's your favorite one that you've seen live?
I have to say Les Mis on the West End.
Yeah, that makes sense. The West End is, that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
And whoever was playing trombone was having his best day. Because, the musical started, and the trombone player is like, I'm here, boom, boom. It was so good. It was, just him.
Yeah.
It was so loud. It filled up that theater.
Mm-hmm.
And me being a brass player, I'm like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Right. But
Right.
I've seen West Side Story, and I
Mhm.
think that's fantastic.
That's so cool. I want to see West Side Story live.
I saw that with my mom and my grandma in Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
and that show is phenomenal. But I do have to say Les Mis would be my favorite experience.
That's fair.
How about you?
I've seen quite a few musicals live, but I've only ever seen musicals, ironically enough, at the Wharton Center. I've never seen.
I love seeing shows.
I
At the
love
Wharton.
seeing shows at the Wharton, but I've never seen any shows at the Fisher or the Fox or anything. Isn't that crazy?
It's a little crazy because I feel like Detroit's a little closer to you.
Well, now, yeah.
Well,
all
now,
the ones
okay,
that I've
that's
seen are
fair.
in college. I think it's probably a tie. So
Mhm.
I got the opportunity to see Lion King at the Wharton, and I was in an aisle seat.
I love
So
the
when
Lion
they
King.
come down, because
Yeah.
that's a really interactive one. So when the
Right.
animals come down through the crowd, I got to watch them walk right by me. It was very cool.
That is amazing.
Shouts out to my friend Joe for his family got us the tickets, and that was a very cool experience.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Shout
and
out
then
Joe.
shout out Joe. And then my other musical, I actually also saw that. I saw this one twice. I actually also saw this one with Joe, but the specific version that I'm thinking of that was my favorite, I saw Hamilton at the Wharton with my sister. And that was you remember when I was deep in my Hamilton phase.
We all were.
For those of you who don't know, I introduced Austin to Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was at. I was proselytizing Hamilton.
I saw Hamilton at the Wharton.
Yeah. And so
We couldn't get tickets for when it came to Detroit.
yeah, no. Nobody could. But they did such a great job. The cast was amazing that I saw, and it was just one of those cool full circle moments, because when you're really into a musical like that, it really gets you.
I've seen, there's only 3 shows I've ever seen more than once.
Mm-hmm.
They're Les Mis, Wicked, and The Lion King.
Nice.
Which is funny because I'm not a big fan of Wicked.
Really? I didn't know that.
Well, okay. Tangent to the tangent to the tangent.
I feel like we're just going to be on this musicals tangent for a while.
We're going to talk about Sweeney Todd, I promise.
We will.
Well, no, we will.
We will. I did a lot of notes.
But my thing with Wicked is I love the Wicked Witch of the West.
Okay.
She's a bad bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to feel bad for her. And that's the whole point of Wicked.
It's fair.
And Wicked's doing is saying a lot of really important shit.
Mm-hmm. But you liked when she was just a baddie.
I like that she's a baddie. Yeah, I like the
fair.
Wicked Witch of the West. I don't think Elphaba's interesting. I think the Wicked Witch of the West, which is funny because the Wicked Witch of the West is just
like a two-dimensional character. But it
barely two, pretty much one.
But
and Elphaba's a strong character. Elphaba has complexity and nuance, but she's a Wicked Witch of the West, and no, she's a bad. The Wicked Witch of the West is a. Bleh. The Wicked Witch of the West is bad.
That's fair.
I don't like. We got to understand Michael Myers.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
You've gone on that rant before.
That being said,
totally.
Is Defying Gravity one of the greatest things to see live?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
I'm cheering with everyone. I'm human.
Yeah.
So I don't like the story to Wicked, but the production design, the costumes, the dancing, the songs.
Yeah.
I have a love-hate relationship with Wicked.
That's
that
super fair.
Evens out to me giving it 3 stars.
Understood. Jeremy, have you seen... I know you've seen the Book of Mormon. Have you seen anything else live?
I have seen the Book of Mormon live. I have also seen a community theater production of SpongeBob the Musical.
That's true.
And I have watched my middle schoolers do Wizard of Oz.
That's true.
Like legit Wizard of Oz?
Like Wizard of Oz,
like Wizard
the
of
OG.
Oz.
Like the movie? Like,
Yeah.
We're Off to See the Wizard?
Yes, that.
My list came out right there. This is why I don't sing. Somewhere over the rainbow.
You guys could both do a very lispy production of Wicked.
That is what the people want.
Elphaba, Glinda, go.
I do think what I like about Wicked is going back to your point of I don't need to understand Michael Myers. I think the interesting thing about Wicked is that it's not so much about. I feel like it's not like, oh, we need to understand her. What's the word I'm looking for? Her motivations.
Right.
It literally is like, no, everything you knew from the entire first movie is wrong. Not even like there's reason she's doing these things. It's simply like,
yeah, she's not even bad.
She's not bad at all.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
and I don't like it.
I think it's an interesting. I think
people love it.
I think both movies can exist kind of in different ways. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that the fact that
definitely.
Wicked exists makes The Wizard of Oz less compelling.
No.
But I do think it's interesting to view The Wizard of Oz through the lens of propaganda.
Yeah.
I find it an interesting way to look at it in a different light. But I totally get your point that like I totally understand your point because I agree. Sometimes villains can just be bad and that's more compelling.
Right.
I totally agree.
The only exception for me is Darth Vader.
Yeah, but he like had we saw his motivations even in the original trilogy.
And that's why, because
yeah,
if it's just A New Hope and then you do the I'll be like, what the fuck?
Right.
But because of specifically Return of the Jedi,
right,
where Darth Vader goes on this redemption arc,
right,
then the prequels fill that in. And
right, it's more filling in gaps that we already knew were there, rather than the Michael Myers Elphaba situation, which is you've made new gaps and you filled them. Yeah.
I did like the Sam Raimi Oz the Great and Powerful movie when that came out like 10 years ago.
I did like that one.
I liked that one. There wasn't a musical.
No.
Could have been.
All right, are you ready to get into it?
Ready, Freddy.
So Freddy and Jason, Freddy versus Jason. That's what we're going to talk about next. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
That should have been a musical.
Really, truly. It probably could have been. They've made a lot of those movies.
Freddy versus Jason, here we go again.
Here we go. That is perfect. Here we go again.
Okay. So Macabre May.
Angel Eyes, but you're singing about fucking Jason Voorhees.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry, Macabre May.
So again, we're just gonna kind of go through the different tropes. We have our setting, our rundown setting. In this case, it is Victorian London, which I find a really interesting setting. So we talked last week about Victorian Gothic and how it can still qualify as Gothic horror, even though it doesn't take place in the Gothic period, which is the case for this as well.
So this makes it kind of close to Crimson Peak.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Timeline-wise, absolutely. The interesting thing about this setting versus the previous movies is that despite the fact that it fits really well with the gothic horror genre, it is not as isolated as some of the other settings. So,
no, you're right. This is in the heart of the city.
Right. So, like, for example, Sleepy Hollow, Insular Town, Crimson Peak, literally just in a house. Interview with the Vampire obviously starts out in
Louisiana,
near New Orleans, but most of the time they are insularly, like, in their apartment or in their house or wherever they are living. That's where most of the story takes place.
Right.
This one takes place in the heart of the city, and it really shows the way that the city is struggling to keep up with the Industrial Revolution. There is a lot of poverty. It is run down. It is dirty. I think this is best exemplified at the beginning with Mrs. Lovett's pie shop.
Yeah, there's like bugs.
Yeah, he walks in and there's roaches everywhere. And she's just kind of making these really god-awful pies. And
the worst pies in London.
Exactly. And she is singing this song about how they're the worst pies in London because they don't contain any meat in them, because meat is really hard to come by.
Right.
And she talks about her rival pie shop who uses cat meat because that's all they can find. It is really making a commentary about the poor people of London and how they've really been downtrodden on. Which is a commentary that comes up quite often in this movie, and it's kind of the thesis of it. So
it is a smart movie.
Yes,
there's a lot happening. There's a lot on its mind.
Yes, I agree.
That might come from the musical.
I tend to believe it does. But so yeah, I think this is a good time to talk about this. Almost everybody in this movie is running a con. Everybody that we meet is running some kind of con to survive and to fulfill their own motivations.
Right.
So as we get into it, obviously our main grift is Sweeney Todd, who is really hell-bent on revenge against the judge, against Judge Turpin, who is played by Alan Rickman, by the way.
Icon.
And does an incredible job playing a fucking creep in this movie. Like, singing or not, playing a fucking creep, he's got that one down. He had it down in Harry Potter, too. But, you know, like, this one's even worse.
Is he the best actor in this cast?
I think so, personally.
I think so, too.
But
Timothy Spall.
Oh, yeah.
Always deserves a shout-out.
He always plays the same character, though.
Not always, but he's not just in Harry Potter.
No, I know, but he always kind of plays that character.
I don't remember the director's name, but there's some interesting British films I'll have to show you that he's in. And
that's fair.
Fantastic.
I've really only ever seen him in, like, this one and Harry Potter and Enchanted, where he plays the same character.
Oh, I forgot. He was in Enchanted.
Yeah.
But the smaller stuff where he actually gets to act.
He was good in The King's Speech. He didn't play this role on.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fair. Anyway, I digress. Everybody's running this grift. You've got Sweeney Todd, who is trying to get revenge, so he is killing people. While he is killing people, Mrs. Lippitt is creating pies for her business out of the meat.
From the people.
Even, oh my god, I cannot think of his name. Sacha Baron Cohen.
Hey, you got it.
Well, I meant the name of the character.
Oh, Signor Priscilla.
Pirelli.
Yeah.
Signor Pirelli. He's running a grift. His name is not actually Signor Pirelli. It's like Davy something, and he's British.
Davy Crockett.
And he did not shave the Pope.
What the fuck?
I know. It's crazy. Pope mention. Anyway.
Well.
Topical.
Yeah. I'd rather see him than J.D. Vance.
Well, that's fair.
Also topical.
Not a high bar. Anyway.
He didn't kill the Pope.
He did not kill the Pope. That's important. Unlike J.D. Vance, allegedly. He is also running this grift. And on another level, Judge Turpin is running a grift the whole time. He's running a grift when he gets rid of Benjamin Barker. He's running a grift again when he is trying to marry the child he has raised from babyhood. And is now, like, what, fucking 15?
Right.
Creep.
And he's, like, 60?
Yeah. He's an old man. Not the only time he's played an old man trying to marry a very young woman. But in the other one, it was a romance, and it was a lot sweeter.
I don't like when it's put that way, though.
I'm sorry. Sense and Sensibility is a weird movie. You guys just need to understand the context. But yeah, there's just everybody is kind of running a grift, which again is kind of this commentary of like the fact that nobody can really be honest at this turn of the century London because everybody's trying to get something.
I think the only honest one is Vecna.
Yeah, realistically, Antonia is really the only honest one. And I think it is because...
Oh, and Joanna.
And Joanna, yes. But they do not really belong there. Like, Joanna is trapped. Mm-hmm. Anthony is a sailor. Like, he is not staying.
Right.
His plan is as soon as he frees Joanna, they're out of there, you know? And so I do find that very interesting.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it earlier, but I'm going to look it up because I don't want to get the quote wrong because I said it earlier, but now I can't remember it. But we talked about the quote from Sweeney Todd about London, and it says, "There's a hole in the world like a great black pit, and the vermin of the world inhabit it, and its morals aren't worth what a pig could spit, and it goes by the name of London." Which really sets it up. I mean, everybody in this town has ulterior motives.
And they're full of shit.
And it's really, I think it contributes to the setting as like kind of a living and breathing thing in this story because...
Oh, definitely.
It really contributes to like the moral bankruptcy that London instills in people, I think.
Right. No, I think that's a great point.
So moving on, the next thing I wanted to mention is that very uniquely, there are no supernatural elements in this movie. Everybody's just a guy.
Or a gal.
Or a gal.
Or a guy pretending to be a different guy.
Or a gal pretending to be a guy.
Or a gal pretending to be not guy. Or a boy pretending to be a man.
Or a boy pretending to have long hair.
Yo, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Or a boy peeing in a jar and selling it.
City on fire. The city is on fire.
It is on fire.
That song, you know what it made me think of?
What?
Have you ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yeah. Secret tunnel. Is that what you're going to say?
To me, it's the same melody.
It is kind of the same melody. Secret tunnel.
And obviously, Sweeney Todd came first.
Secret
It's
tunnel.
been around since '79. But when she's like, city on fire, I'm like, secret tunnel.
That's so real. do love Avatar: The Last Airbender. But so I find it interesting that notably this has no supernatural elements because it is kind of marketed as having supernatural elements. He is literally Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street.
But that's back in the day where if there was something that mildly upset the populace, they just called it satanic or a demon. But we still do that.
I was going to say, I think that's the point though, right? Is like, because a lot of the times when we look at these old folklore and legends that we've talked about so much this month, they come from innocuous things that don't really have real basis in reality. And they've made up this idea of a demon to kind of justify it.
Do you think Sweeney Todd from the Penny Dreadful days may have taken inspiration from real life? Like, such as Jack the Ripper?
So there is theories that he has a lot of different origin stories, and that one of them is in fact Jack the Ripper. The other one is, like, many people speculate that. The other one I'm trying to think of, what was that Barber? That Barber of Seville is another one. That plenty of people thought that he took reference from, which is Barber of Seville is not a real person. Barber of Seville was an opera, but very similar murderous barber type vibes. Yeah, there's definitely some thoughts that it could be referenced because of the fact that there was such a high population of serial killers at the time, particularly Jack the Ripper most famously. But yeah, I do think it's really interesting that there are no explicit supernatural elements, and it's very much shown like, hey, Sweeney Todd's just a guy. He's just fucking psycho.
Right.
And yeah, I do think that's fun because that's not something that usually with the staples of the genre, like that is not something that's a negotiable thing, but it really kind of is. I will say there is still some haunting in the Sweeney Todd narrative, specifically with the beggar woman. I think that's a really interesting symbol.
But it's not like a supernatural.
No, it's
haunting.
not. But I think it's metaphorical.
Yeah, the ghosts are a metaphor.
Exactly. So again, with kind of looking at the story as a whole, there is this beggar woman who shows up time and time again outside of Judge Turpin's house. She shows up at the barber shop, at Miss Lovett's, just tons of places throughout the story.
She's like the Cabbage Man in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Exactly. And you don't really know why she's there, except for sometimes she gives narrative answers. Like she tells Anthony who Joanna is and all of that. And then you find out that she is Sweeney Todd's quote-unquote dead wife, Lucy.
I love Lucy.
Yeah, that's her.
Spoiler alert. Not for long.
She is Lucille Ball. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so it is really interesting because she kind of haunts the narrative even though she's not an actual.
No, real. That's real. But she kind of looks like one.
She does. She's very diseased.
Yeah.
So kind of, because I do want to kind of get into Lucy's character a little bit, trigger warnings for some pretty dark shit, including sexual assault. But basically the backstory that is told to Sweeney Todd about his wife after he comes back by Mrs. Lovett is that he was falsely accused of this crime. He got sent to Australia, which at the time was just where England dumped all their prisoners.
Yeah.
And when he was gone, she was so distressed that she was kind of aimless. And Beadle came to her and says, hey, Judge Turpin feels terrible. He really wants to atone for his actions. And so she goes to his house because he asks her to. And she realizes that he's having a party. And in the midst of the party, she is like drinking. It's either implied that she got too drunk out of nervousness or she was drugged. And he rapes her in front of the entire crowd at the party. And they think it's all part of the entertainment and that it is a joke. And so they are all laughing and watching her do this. Because this happens and she is so devastated that it has happened, she takes a poison. And according to Mrs. Lovett at the beginning of the movie, she dies. We learn later at the very end of the movie that she never actually died. She was just very ill, and instead of sending her to the hospital, they sent her to Bedlam, which is the insane asylum. And her brain never recovered.
And then spoilers for the end of the movie, and then she dies.
Yes. He kills her pretty unceremoniously, actually.
Sweeney Todd does.
Sweeney Todd does, yeah. He slits her throat because he is kind of done with her talking.
And because the judge was coming up and he needed a quick way to get rid of her.
Right.
He didn't recognize her.
Not until later.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, but she was so, like, diseased at that point, and, like, years of living on the streets will do that to you.
I'm just saying. I would recognize the love of my life.
Maybe.
Am I better than Sweeney Todd?
I mean, it's probably not hard to be.
I'm going to say I am.
Okay. So in terms of our three main themes, our first theme, loneliness. Everybody in this fucking movie is lonely. Gothic, exactly. It's very emo. So Sweeney Todd is mourning his family. He knows that Joanna is out there, but knows that she wouldn't recognize him even if he, like, tried to get a hold of her. And he doesn't really pursue her, honestly. He is mostly focused on revenge.
He just talks about her, but he doesn't do anything.
Right. He talks about her. After his kind of initial jealousy, realizes that Antony is probably her best option for survival and success. So he encourages him to take care of her while he enacts his... But he is really, like, mourning the love of his life and his child and the life that he could have. And I think something that's kind of underrated is he came back from Australia, like, with the hope that his wife and child would still be there.
Yeah.
He wasn't sure, obviously, that they would have been waiting for him, but he was at least hopeful that they would be alive and safe and he could see them. And when it turns out he's not, that they're not, that's when he goes in.
Which is crazy because they are.
Which is crazy because they are, but he does not know that.
No. He was lied to.
Exactly.
Even though she said she didn't lie, but she did.
Exactly. Joanna is locked away. She is not allowed out of her house. And she is not only locked away, but she's locked away with this creep of a man who raised her and was probably like a father figure until relatively recently, and who has a peephole into her room.
Psycho shot.
Yeah.
Tim Burton employed the psycho shot.
True. Respect.
Mm-hmm.
And realistically is desperate when Antony comes to see her. Antony is not really explicitly said to be lonely, but he lives a sailor's life, and he sees Joanna and is immediately wanting to rescue her.
Yeah, the movie doesn't really dive into him too much.
He's really just kind of there as a tool to get Joanna out.
Yeah.
And then Tobias and Mrs. Lovett have a really interesting relationship to me, and I'd like to spend a minute on it because they really do have like a son-mother relationship as soon as they meet, because every single time Sweeney Todd tries to get rid of Tobias, like at the beginning of the movie and even at the end when he says send him up, she's always really hesitant.
Yeah.
She's always like, no, I need an apprentice. And then at the end she's like, no, I'll talk to him. It's fine. And it really isn't until she realizes how much he's caught on to Sweeney Todd and the type of dark person that he is that she's like, okay, I guess he has to go.
He ain't smart, but he ain't dumb.
He ain't smart, but he ain't dumb.
That's what he says. Or sings.
Yeah. And it's a really sad part of the movie because I think it really speaks to Mrs. Lovett's obsession and insanity.
Yes. I have to say something.
Please.
About 35 minutes into the film, when his character is introduced. This is not a knock on the actor.
Who is a child.
Right. He did his job. He did it good. But when he started singing, I wanted to turn it off so bad.
I don't understand because he just sings like a little kid. Like, he is not somebody who is bad in this movie.
No, he's not bad, but I wasn't trying to hear it either. I was like, oh my, like.
Is it just the British accent? Were you just like not willing to listen to any more British accent singing?
Maybe, but like 10 minutes in, I'm like, I want to turn off this movie, but I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I have a job to do.
Yeah.
And I'm professional.
Yeah.
When that happened, it took all my willpower to keep watching.
Exactly. We're professionals here. We all watch the movies.
I can't.
Especially me.
I cannot wait to ask you your Letterboxd review, Jeremy.
But he started singing, and I was like, oh my fucking God. And it's not... The kid's not the problem. But
Why did you not text me these thoughts? Because I would have been delighted to hear them.
Really? I should have.
Next time you hate a movie I pick, I want to know.
Or a movie I pick.
Yeah.
I'd be like, why did I pick this?
Why did I pick this fucking movie? So I think this leads really well into our next theme, which is our psychological theme. These themes of insanity.
Austin
Just
crashing
like-
out because a little boy is singing.
Just like
Let's
Tobias-
talk about insanity.
Just like Tobias made Austin fucking crazy. I think a really underrated character for this specific theme is Mrs. Lovett. Because she's fucking psycho, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Sweeney Todd is crazy. Don't get me wrong.
But it's
he
revenge.
has, like,
There's motivation.
He has
crazy.
a motivation.
Yeah.
She's just like so fucking in love with Sweeney Todd, who like it's implied she was kind of in love with him before.
Yeah.
Right? And so like she's been in love with this man who's been gone for 15 years and who when he was here was a very different person and had a wife and child.
Right.
And now he comes back and not only does she take the opportunity to be like, hey, your wife is fucking dead, which isn't true. But she also takes the opportunity to be like, let me kill this child because he's getting in the way of my plans to go to the seaside with Sweeney Todd, who is not fucking going to the seaside, Mrs. Lovett. He's not going.
Right.
He is going to get his revenge, and then I don't know. He's probably gonna fucking kill himself. Like he does not have plans beyond.
At the very least, he's going to jail.
Right. Like he does not have plans beyond the judge.
Right.
So she's like trying to convince him, like, hey, you don't actually need to kill Judge Turpin because like we can just kill lower class people who nobody will miss, and it will be fine. And then he does, and she's just kind of like, it's gonna be okay. Like, we can fix this. And then he finds out that he's killed the love of his life. And she's like, but I did it because I loved you, because I could be a better wife than Lucy.
When she said that, I was like, oh, you done fucked up.
Yeah. She's a crazy bitch, and I respect her for it so bad. And listen, I'm sorry. I mean, like, singing aside, nobody does crazy better than Helena Bonham Carter.
That's a take.
Like, you don't think so?
I'd have to think of it. I'd have to think more of it, but I don't have enough in my brain to argue it. Argue
Bonham
against
Carter
it.
has basically exclusively played crazy bitches for her entire career.
Fight Club, Harry Potter, this movie.
Alice in Wonderland.
We don't talk about that. I'm trying to think
The
of
first rule of Fight Club is we don't talk about Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
What about fucking
Les Mis?
Yeah, Les Mis. What about, like, okay, Dark Shadows?
I haven't seen it.
Holy shit. Seriously?
Should I?
Yeah. You would hate it, but I love it. Corpse Bride. She plays somebody absolutely delusional. I know you probably haven't seen that one, but, like, she's absolutely
I
delusional.
think I seen it, like, when it first came out, but I don't remember it.
She's in a series of unfortunate events. She's crazy in that one, right?
The movie or the TV show?
The movie.
Is she in that?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I just remember Jim Carrey. But Jim Carrey's a crazy one. I guess he's not crazy,
yeah.
he's evil.
They're both pretty crazy. Because she plays, like, the neurotic aunt or whatever. It's, like, scared of leeches, I think.
Oh. Yeah. No, that's Meryl Streep.
No, you're right. Who does she play in a series of unfortunate events? Hang on. I'm looking it up.
I don't remember.
Helena Bonham Carter, 2004 film. Who is she? She is...
It's crazy how I remembered Meryl Streep.
I was going to say, I can't even believe you remembered Meryl Streep, because I don't remember this movie at fucking all.
This movie came out when I was 10.
I remember... Oh, no, she plays the mom, I think. Beatrice Baudelaire, yeah. Okay, never mind. She's not crazy in that one. I take it back. I rescind my previous statement. I still think she plays a crazy bitch very well.
No, she does.
Yeah.
But the best, I feel like that's a hot take.
I need you to tell me somebody better.
I'm trying to think.
So I win until you can do this.
Emma Roberts.
What?
Scream 4.
Okay, but, like, I'm talking, like, delusional crazy. I'm not talking, like, revenge bent, like, needs attention crazy. But if we are talking about, like, attitude crazy, yeah, Emma Roberts is up there, because she was also great in American Horror Story.
And Scream Queens, right?
Yeah.
She's in that? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She is in Scream Queens. Love that fucking show. Anyway, other insane people in this movie. Sweeney Todd.
What?
He's crazy. He wants to kill people.
Oh, he kills a lot of people.
He does kill a lot of people. Lucy. Crazy.
But
crazy
that's not
bitch.
her fault.
I didn't say it was her fault. I said she was crazy. Hello? Okay. Honestly, one of my favorite, like, I'm going to save this for favorite scares, but one of my favorite scares has to do with crazy people. I forgot about it until this moment, but I'm changing my favorite scares.
Oh, okay. That was really funny.
I'm sorry. You're like, that's not her fault. I didn't say it was. I don't think anybody who's clinically insane is generally, like, at fault for their insanity. I said she was crazy. So our third theme. I was really good at transitions last week. This week, not so much, man. I'm not going to lie.
Well, we were talking about a better movie.
Okay. Fair. Anyway, our third theme.
It's not your fault.
Death and grief. There's a lot of death in this movie. I don't know if you've noticed, but everyone dies. All of them.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Every time Sweeney Todd kills a motherfucker and he puts him in the oopsie doopsie chair and,
yeah.
and the corpses like fall and just go fucking crack on their skull. It made me laugh every time.
Can I just say, I think that's an ingenious invention. Who cuts a hole in the floor to go directly into the bakehouse? That's beautiful.
I gave a whole star just for that.
Considering how many stars you gave this movie, that's crazy. We'll get to it. Anyway.
I did enjoy that part a lot.
That's fair.
Because every time just... It's so...
Yeah.
It was so brutal and...
Yes, this movie is very macabre. It is perfect for Macabre May.
Oh, it is, yeah. I'll give
then-
it that.
In terms of, I mean, like, death is present in every horror movie. That's what horror movies are. But grief is a very specific part of this genre of horror movie. And Sweeney Todd, at his core, is a character who is grieving. He has lost his wife. He believes that she is dead for the whole movie until the very end. And he's also grieving his daughter. He, again, like, he doesn't even really consider it a possibility to reunite with his daughter. He just thinks it's a lost cause because she is almost grown. She is a teenager at the very least. I assume around 15 or 16, which at the time would have been considered almost an adult, if not an adult. And then he's also, like, grieving his life. Like, everything in his life is shot in these beautiful, like, bright pastel colors and everything, whereas now it is drab and gray, and the only color in his life is red.
And to that point, I know you're talking about Sweeney Todd, but I'm going to change it to Helena Bonham Carter's character. Carter?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. When she has her big song about fantasizing about the future, that's the brightest and most vivid that the entire film is.
Yes, absolutely. So his grief is really for the past. Her grief, I guess you could call it, but her delusion is for this future that is never gonna come to be.
Right.
So both of them have these very unachievable but very rose-colored fantasies.
Exactly.
And I think that's the true tragedy of the movie. It's not necessarily the death. It's the fact that nobody in this movie is going to get what they want.
So you know that one part in SpongeBob where Squidward takes flowers to the cemetery and they look to see what the tombstone he goes to is, and it says, "Here lies Squidward's hopes and dreams."
Yeah.
This movie is basically that moment in musical form.
That's real. That's very true. That's exactly what it is. Transition?
Cultural impact. So let's talk about the cultural impact of this film. Johnny Depp was fucking nominated.
Yeah.
For an Academy Award.
Yeah, he was.
Finding that out today gave me indigestion.
I'm sorry to be the one to tell you.
And it's not like it was a weak year for actor. This was the year of Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood.
That's true. I mean, he did win. At least he didn't win.
Tommy Lee Jones was nominated for No Country for Old Men. Like, you said George Clooney. What film was Clooney nominated for?
Oh, gosh.
I'm sure it was a drama.
I don't remember. I will say that...
Was that Up in the Air, or is that too early?
I think it's too early for Up in the Air.
Yeah.
Syriana? No.
Best actor... Michael Clayton.
Oh, George Clooney for Michael Clayton.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's fine. I don't remember who the other nominee was. The fifth one.
There were... So, sorry. I will... Which one?
So
It was...
Daniel Day-Lewis, Tommy Lee Jones.
Viggo Mortensen.
Oh, Viggo Mortensen.
For Eastern Promises.
Okay. I haven't seen that movie.
I have. I liked that movie.
Okay. But I thought Johnny Depp wasn't good in this movie.
That's fair. It's not his best. I will say...
Can I give a hot take?
Yeah.
I don't think Johnny Depp's good in almost any movie.
I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah, I disagree heavily.
Well,
that's a hot take.
That's why it's a hot take. I don't enjoy him as an actor in genuinely almost any role.
I want to be very clear because it sounds like you're putting me in a position to defend Johnny Depp, and I don't think he's a good man. I think he's a very, very bad man. I think
Grape,
if you saw
only one.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape and you thought that he wasn't good as an actor, then you're wrong.
Okay, he's very good as an actor for like an hour and a half in one movie. That's my take.
don't think you're right, but it's fine. He did.
I would
also-
argue this is his worst performance.
I think that might be true.
And it's crazy to
Actually,
me.
No, I don't agree. But that's okay. I think his worst performance is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I would take that performance over this one any day of the week. Because when he sings in that one,
What
it's
about
supposed to be
Alice?
bad.
What about Mad Hatter?
I blocked that out of my mind.
I feel like
Suggestion does not compute.
I feel like that era. So like from like Pirates 1 on, Johnny Depp has played one singular role.
I think you need to understand
I
before
think
you.
he's played 2. Captain Jack Sparrow and everyone else.
I think you need to understand that there's gonna come a time where I make you binge watch all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, including 4 and 5.
Have you not seen them?
I've seen like the first maybe 2.
Do you like ghost stories?
I'm
'Cause you're in one.
I fucking love those movies.
Those
guys.
I'm not-
movies
You don't
rule.
I'm not-
understand.
Here's the thing. I'm not arguing that those are. I'm not arguing that those are bad movies. I'm arguing that he's not the strong. Like I think you could have put almost anyone in the role of Captain Jack Sparrow, and I think it. I don't think he makes those movies the way people say he does.
He does.
That is a take, my friend.
It's a bad take.
I don't. Listen. I understand it's a hot take. I understand I'm in the minority here. All I'm saying is the majority is wrong.
I want everyone to remember. I want everyone to remember that we've been doing this podcast for 3 months and Jeremy hasn't watched a movie in that entire time. So he may not be the expert in movies.
That's not fair. I've watched a movie, just none of these movies.
Okay, sorry. Watching Fever Pitch in Major League 6 times in the last 3 months doesn't count.
In fairness, I've only watched like the first 15 minutes of that movie over and over again because I fall asleep.
So the cultural impact of Sweeney Todd.
I have to tell you something else that I didn't know until just now, and that's that Johnny Depp also won a Golden Globe for Best Actor for this movie.
Oh my god. But in fairness, I never cared about the Golden Globes.
That's fine. I do think it's important for you to know that he won.
The Golden Globes to me are like Rotten Tomatoes. They're only relevant when they're aligned with the point I'm trying to make. And it's bullshit when they're not aligned with the point I'm trying to make.
He won over, if you would like to hear the other
Sure.
the other actors, he won over Ryan Gosling for Lars and the Real Girl.
I haven't seen it, but I'd
That's
give it to
absurd.
I love
I'd give
that.
That's
it to Ryan.
insane.
He won over Tom Hanks
What?
in Charlie Wilson's War.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie.
He won over Philip Seymour Hoffman.
What?
And he won over John C. Reilly.
What were
In
those
Walk
movies?
Hard.
What the
And
fuck?
Philip Seymour Hoffman's movie was The Savages.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I think
Johnny Depp's not good in this movie.
I think John C. Reilly's best role might be the Walk Hard movie.
That I might agree.
And so I find that absolutely shocking.
The only point of disagreement I have with that is neither of you have seen the movie We Need to Talk About Kevin.
John C. Reilly is it?
He is the father of that movie.
When he does dramatic
It's really
stuff,
good.
he's really good.
You missed the point of that movie, but that's not the point. So
You know who could have played Sweeney Todd better than Johnny Depp?
tell me.
John C. Reilly. John C. Reilly.
John C. Wowie.
John C. Reilly.
I don't know that that's true, but I don't think he could sing Sondheim better than Johnny Depp, but that's okay. I think Josh Groban would have been great in this movie.
Yo, I agree.
Yeah, I think he was. I mean, like, I think
Hugh Jackman.
he would have been a little young. Hugh might have been a little young too. I don't know. How old is Hugh Jackman? Is he the same age as
I think he's the
Johnny?
same age as Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
I think Hugh Jackman would have been a better 2007.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, that would have been like early X-Men.
No,
Good.
because early X-Men is 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This would have been like right before X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah. Yeah. Hugh Jackman is
He could have
only
done that
5
instead of
years
X-Men Origins
younger.
Wolverine. I think done everybody a favor. No? Okay. Do we like X-Men's Origins Wolverine in this
I do.
room? All right.
So this is a hot take episode?
Sorry that this podcast is ending because we all hate each other and each other's opinions. It's over.
I thought, going into recording this episode, I thought I was going to piss everyone off with my hottest of takes, but I feel like I'm the coolest one here.
I was going to say, I think Jeremy's Johnny Depp is a bad actor and also didn't make the Pirates of the Caribbean movies what they are. Is probably going to kill him.
Listen. Shit.
Okay, listen. It's not that he didn't make them what they are. It's that by how many movies are there? Like 17, something like that?
5.
Okay, so there's 5 movies. After like half of the first one, I was like, we get it, man. We got it.
That's wrong. You're making it so much worse. Like, first it was Johnny Depp doesn't make those movies. Now it's those movies are bad and repetitive, which is like not correct.
The
story's not. He is.
I just go to those movies for Keira Knightley and
Interesting that a certain actor is missing from what you go to those movies for.
And the monkey.
I didn't say he was the reason I watch those movies. I said he was the reason those movies are as iconic as they are. You can't tell me Captain Jack Sparrow is not an iconic character.
He's the worst pirate I ever heard of.
But you have heard of him.
Hey,
Boom.
That's what we call an alley-oop.
So, in terms of cultural impact of the musical, stop. I'm trying to do this seriously, and you laughing makes it worse.
It's Friday.
We're ending this musical now. I said musical, and I meant podcast episode, so that didn't even work.
Can we talk about, so not this movie, but Sweeney Todd the musical?
Okay, yes.
I think in my very limited of knowing its existence as of like the past 48-ish hours.
Yeah.
I think this musical walked so Phantom of the Opera could run.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
Because I think Phantom of the Opera as both a movie and a musical is a bigger deal.
Yes. Mhm.
But knowing a bit more about Phantom and how like Andrew Lloyd Webber was inspired by a pre-existing horror character.
Yes.
Makes this iconic musical off him. How is that different from Sweeney Todd?
Right, yeah.
It's the same origin story.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, the book came out in 1909, so same era as Sweeney Todd. Like,
right.
You know, it was a book versus a serial, but yeah, very similar. But the musical came out about 10 years after.
After Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd.
Did.
I think that's absolutely right. I think I don't think it's ever been explicitly said, but I wouldn't be shocked if he was like, hey, let's do this like tragic romance kind of the way that they did.
Because those two are super similar. And there are other horror comedies, horror musicals.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about this earlier. Rocky Horror Picture Show kind of came first.
Yes.
I can't think of one that comes before.
No.
But then Little Shop of Horrors comes a little bit after, because that's early 80s.
Yeah.
Off-Broadway. I cannot speak today.
Off-Broadway.
Yeah. Little Shop of Horrors, early 80s off-Broadway. The movie comes out mid-80s. If it gets on Broadway afterwards, I'm not sure. Maybe it does.
Mm-hmm.
But Little Shop, I don't think Little Shop had any influence on Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
I think Sweeney Todd does.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, so I'm doing a little bit of research while we're sitting here,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like technically the first horror musical that's classified as a horror musical is The Horror of Party Beach, which is actually one that I would be interested in watching because it is a horror film that takes place during a beach party, like in the beach party genre.
Ooh.
Which is like those like Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello type shit.
Is this from like the 50s?
It's from the 60s.
60s?
64.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of interesting. The poster says weird atomic beasts who live off of human blood. So that's exciting.
Nice.
But it does seem like it's more... It's one of those musical... It's like almost a jukebox musical where it's like a movie that has like musical numbers in it. Kind of, again, the way that Beach Party movies existed. And so I don't know that it necessarily qualifies the same way that this one does, but I that's technically like the first, but I think the first like mainstream would be Rocky Horror for sure.
And then
this.
I think Sweeney Todd is a bit more
Shortly after.
traditional
Yeah.
than Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes, absolutely.
So with Sweeney Todd, I think
It also, the movie, the Rocky Horror Picture Show came out in 75. Sweeney Todd came out in 76. So they were probably being written concurrently. Like, you know
Okay.
what I mean? You could
Right.
almost say that they were, because Broadway musicals obviously very different, because you have to get them off Broadway, and then by the time they get
Right.
on Broadway, that's when they technically debut. So it was probably coming out around the same time as Rocky Horror.
but I think Rocky Horror is so unique.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Sweeney Todd, I think, is you take the horror musicals that come afterwards, I think they owe more to Sweeney Todd. And that's partially because Rocky Horror Picture Show is so its own thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking of Repo, the genetic opera.
Mm-hmm.
I can see the Sweeney Todd parallels
Yeah.
there. Or Anna and the Apocalypse.
Yes.
Not necessarily Little Shop of Horrors. That one is
No.
kind of unique.
But it's very...
But Little Shop of Horrors might maybe owe a little bit more to Rocky Horror.
I think those two are twin flames in my head, in my heart.
But and there are more horror musicals that I can't think of at the moment.
We'll get to it.
Oh, you got them? Hell yeah.
No, I mean we'll get to it eventually.
Oh. Okay.
That was a hint for future episodes, everybody.
Oh yeah. I helped plan it.
You did.
But
You did most of the planning for it, actually.
But yeah, so I do think this is of this month, this is the most culturally impactful, if not film, at least concept.
I tend to agree. All right, ready for our superlatives?
Superlatives. Who would you save?
I would save Tobias.
He doesn't die.
Yeah, but he's like left alone. Like he has been, once again, like you do this thing where you're like, you never pick people who die. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you've left this child with psychological damage.
Yeah, that's fair.
He has nobody now. Everybody who's ever loved him is dead.
Yeah.
And he just killed his first man.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's
What
fair.
about you? Who would you save?
No one.
You have to save somebody.
Alan Rickman.
He raped somebody and tried to
Not
marry
Judge Turpin.
just Alan Rickman from doing this movie.
Yeah, exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
that's fair.
I love Alan Rickman.
What is your favorite scare? You have to pick one.
didn't
You
have
can't just
one.
do I don't have anything.
Here's what I like. I like how goopy the blood is when Sweeney Todd slits
Slice them
throats.
out.
And there's a lot of blood, and it's like thick blood, and it's nasty. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like when he eats Helena Bonham Carter into the oven.
That was a close second for me. Yeah.
Those aren't really scares, but they're violent, gory
Yeah.
moments, and I like them.
That's good. My favorite is there is a part in the movie where Joanna is in Bedlam. She's in the asylum, and Anthony acts like a wig maker's apprentice. He disguises himself as a wig maker's apprentice, and he goes in with the person who runs the asylum, and he finds the girl and everything, and he
Oh, yeah.
and he finds Joanna, and he like pulls a gun on him and like runs out, and he says, "I'll leave you to your daughters." And at this point, all of the girls in the room have been like kind of shivering in the corner. They're very crazy, whatever. And he locks the door behind him. And the man who runs the asylum, who's like very much implied to be a cruel man,
Yeah.
is like cowering in fear. And it flashes to the women, and they all just scream and run at him. And it scared the shit out of me, and I loved it.
I like that. That's a good one. That is a good one. Who is your Tony Todd Award winner for movie MVP?
I don't know if this one counts, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's Stephen Sondheim.
I'll allow it.
I love Stephen Sondheim so bad, and I think he's great. I think he's a phenomenal songwriter, I think he's he has phenomenal place, and that's how I feel.
Some might say he's the John Williams of the musical theater world.
Nobody says that.
Some.
Andrew Lloyd Webber is the John Williams of the musical theater world, but okay.
No, you're not. Yeah. You're right. That is 100% correct. My bad.
Who is your Tony Todd Award for movie MVP? You can't say no one. You cannot say no one.
I actually have an answer.
Okay.
So, watching the opening credits, I noticed a name. I was like, holy shit. I was not expecting that name.
Okay.
It's Richard Zanuck,
okay,
who is a producer of this film.
Yes.
He made Jaws happen.
True.
He kickstarted the career of a little filmmaker known as Steven fucking Spielberg.
Yeah, that's him.
And he's made a bunch of bangers in between.
Steven Spielberg? Yeah.
Well, him, yeah, but
No.
Richard Zanuck.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm thinking of Jaws being just a super important movie to me. But whether or not I care for this movie is irrelevant. The fact that this guy, Richard Zanuck, he
can do whatever he wants because he's discovered Steven Spielberg. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying I think it's really cool that he helped make this movie a reality, that he hired Tim Burton. Mm-hmm. He had the vision to be like, Tim Burton is a great fit for this.
That's fair. And I do think that visually and aesthetically, Tim Burton was the right choice. Mm-hmm. I think his casting choices left a lot to be desired. I
don't think he has the sauce to make a musical.
I think I tend to agree. I think if this were, I can't remember if I mentioned this in the episode or if I said this off mic, but I think if this were an adaptation of the play, I think it would have been phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if Tim Burton made a musical now, it'll probably be better because he made Sweeney Todd. You know, musicals are fucking hard. Yeah. That's why I don't want to be mean, because like they're hard, and I don't think it's like.
I don't think it's as straightforward as everybody thinks it is. I agree.
And I don't think this is a movie I dislike because of any one reason.
I think that's the thing too about even like the casting choices. Like we jokingly when you said like I would save Alan Rickman from taking the role.
Yeah.
Like you're Alan Rickman, you've had a very successful film career, and somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, do you want to be in the Sweeney Todd movie?" You're probably like, "Yeah."
You want to work with one of the greatest directors alive? Yeah. Absolutely. So,
especially when you know that director has a reputation for signing on names that were really big at the time. Helena Bonham Carter, Johnny Depp. Like, we know he likes to work with this cast. If you're an outsider on that, you're like, yeah, I know this cast is already probably going to be stacked. So, of course, I'll join it.
And like Alan Rickman, Timothy Spall, they don't get to sing often. So it's like, they're actors. They want to expand. And I give a lot of credit to the producer of this one for recognizing, at least on paper, Tim Burton is a great fit for this.
Yeah.
And for, recognizing, hey, there's not a Sweeney Todd movie. Mm-hmm. Let's put some money into it. Let's get this going. So I think, because I did a little bit of research and I saw that Sam Mendes was going to direct this.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then he dropped out for whatever reason, and then they got Tim Burton. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, Richard Zanuck, that's my Tony Todd Award winner for MVP.
Nice. All right. Is the score better than Jaws?
No.
That's fair.
But it's a completely different animal.
That's fair, yeah. I think for me, this is a complicated question. Mm-hmm. Because if this were a well-done Stephen Sondheim musical, the answer would be yes, unequivocally. And I understand it's kind of hard to compare like musical scores with movie scores. That's not always going to be the case for me.
So if you're telling me if Josh Groban was singing on this, you'd say yes.
I'd say yes. I would.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
But I obviously I know it's a little bit like you said, it's kind of cats and dogs. It's a different animal. But for me personally, I love this score. I don't think it's Sondheim's best, but I do think it's one of his best.
I'm going to improvise a superlative.
Okay.
What is your favorite song?
Ooh. I think it's Not While I'm Around. But I
is
think,
that when the boy and
Helen, yeah, when
Miss-
Mrs. Lovett and Tobias are singing to each other. I think that song is so sad because it's like you can watch her make the decision that she is going to harm him while she is singing. No one's gonna harm you, not while I'm around. I know your answer, but I'm gonna ask you for podcast purposes. What's your favorite song?
What is my... Wait, you know my favorite?
I thought so.
I like when, what's his name, singing about Joanna.
That's what I thought. I thought it would be Joanna.
I like that one. Joanna, Joanna, Oh, fuck, wait. That's Toto.
Yeah, that's not it.
Damn it. But I like this.
I was like, I know I've never seen this or heard anything from this, but I do know what you're singing.
And that's not it? Yeah.
Listen, I've only heard the song like 4 times in my life. And it was all in the past 48 hours.
It's fair.
So I'll get better. But that was the one that stuck out to me. Also, there's like a motif that I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear it in my head, but I'm not going to try singing. I'll show it to you later.
Okay.
But it's prominent at the very beginning, and then when Sweeney Todd realizes he killed his wife.
Okay. Yeah, one of my favorite parts, which is not like a full song, but the part where he kills his first victim, and then Mrs. Lovett is like starting to try to convince him to go into business together, and she like the beginning of that song, the seems a downright shame. I love that part. Like where she is just like trying to like, she's like, it's really interesting the way that Sondheim adds like tone into just his writing, you know what I mean? Because obviously the actors bring it to life, and that can be done with any musical, but the way that he uses motifs to kind of like it's very obvious that she's about to like try to convince him of something, and I think that's really fun.
And the more I listen to the musical, the more I think I'll like the musical, because I'll and Hamilton was the same way.
Yeah,
I liked Hamilton though, because like the people could actually sing the fucking parts.
Yeah,
but but like it wasn't until a couple more listens where I could pick out the motifs, and I realized what Lin-Manuel Miranda was listening to. I think this will be the same experience for me. I just won't be listening to the movie soundtrack.
Fair.
Is this a fine addition to your collection?
Despite everything, yeah, I would own this. I love having musicals. I want to have a musical collection at some point when I get a little bit bigger of a space to have a musical collection. So yeah, it would be remiss if I had a musical collection but didn't have Sweeney Todd. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know. So I'm gonna ask you the same question now, even though I think we all have figured out the answer. Is this going to be a final addition to your collection? Would you buy this film?
N-O spells no.
Fair.
But I would buy literally every other musical ever.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
I would be fine if my musical collection did not have this in it. This movie's not streaming anywhere. I paid $4.
You also paid $4 for it,
and I still wanted to turn it off.
I'm sorry, bud.
But I would buy the vinyl record of like the original cast recording or the Josh Groban recording.
I'm gonna do something a little bit different for the next one.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna read your Letterboxd review.
Wait, you're gonna read mine?
Yeah.
You pulled it up?
I have it pulled up.
In fairness, this is what I typed immediately before I went to bed.
So he gave this 1 star.
I stand by that.
He said, this is crazy. Buckets of Blood couldn't save this film from the fact that I hated this from a musical standpoint. I thought this film was ending, but then I saw there was 40 minutes left, and I was devastated. That's
true. I want to say something on air. I might edit this review later. Stephen Sondheim innocent.
Fair. Understood.
Now that I've listened to the musical.
Not a Stephen Sondheim problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I still hate this movie from a musical standpoint.
No, yeah.
But
fair.
at first I thought I hated the music.
And you don't.
Then I realized, oh, they can't fucking perform it.
That's fair.
Not the cast's fault.
No, I don't. I don't blame them.
They were put in a position to fail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They were put in a position. Exactly. But yeah, I stand by that review.
Yeah. So my review, I gave this 3 stars, and all I said was, I love Sondheim, man. So here's my thing, is that I may be, and I will admit this, and I will understand that this is true, I may be blind to the fact that I just really love Sondheim, so I'm going to enjoy anything that has to do with Sondheim regardless. And I think that's fine. That's what movies are about. They're about enjoying it regardless. But I do understand all your critiques, and I'm not saying that my review is correct.
Well, here's what I'm gonna say. I think you only giving this 3 stars is more damning than me giving it 1 star.
That's probably true. Despite my love for musicals and despite the fact that I picked this movie to watch, having seen it before, I only gave it 3 stars. Okay, so Jeremy, what is your Letterboxd review for this movie?
Seems alright. Based on the 3 minutes I watched before I told Anneliese, hey, I'm going to go play video games, because all I see is something that doesn't look very entertaining, and Johnny Depp on the screen.
Man, you did what I wanted to do and piece the fuck out.
I want to be very clear. No, he didn't. He came in for the last 3 minutes of the movie. That's what happened.
Oh, shit.
Which I would assume are probably, like, some of the most intense parts. Because he did kill somebody.
Yeah,
but even though he killed somebody, I still was like, pass.
So you saw him throw Helena Bonham Carter into the oven?
I did. I didn't
was
know.
Cool. I like that
I didn't
part.
know the context, and I just went, pass.
So I saw that part earlier this month.
Oh.
When I was editing the
Oh, right. When you were editing
the schedule video, and I used to clip it from that thing.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it was the end of the movie, and I didn't realize that was his wife.
Oh, that woman. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't realize like a lot of shit.
So you basically just spoiled the movie for everybody who's on her.
Kinda, yeah.
Nice.
And myself.
That's good.
But I didn't realize it, so.
But the good news is, if you haven't watched it,
You'll never know.
you don't have to now.
It's true.
Exactly.
You notice how
yeah.
this was probably the only episode that we didn't say, hey, if you haven't watched this movie, you should probably go watch it first?
You know, I did not notice that, and I stand by it, though.
Okay, I need to say something. This is a movie that doesn't feel like a movie. Okay, thank you. That's it.
In this, it's not elevated.
It's really not elevated.
Are there any Supernatural alumni?
There are not, but there are.
There's no supernatural elements. There's no supernatural alumni. What the hell?
There's a lot of Harry Potter alumni, though.
Oh, okay.
To be fair, this is a stacked cast.
It
Can you
is,
imagine
yeah.
being like, well, Alan Rickman was in 1 episode of Supernatural.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you're right. Multiple Harry Potter alumni.
Yeah.
Name them, please.
We've got Alan Rickman, who obviously plays Judge Turpin in this, plays Severus Snape in Harry
Snape.
Potter.
Snape. Severus Snape.
Dumbledore. Sorry.
Why are you saying sorry? I alley-ooped. Don't say
That's
sorry.
how you can tell that everybody on this podcast is on the cusp of being millennial. I will not say that I am a millennial because I am technically Gen Z.
I'll say it. I'm 94.
I am young and spry. Timothy Spall.
I love him.
He plays
Peter Pettigrew.
Beetle. No, not Beetle. Yeah, Beetle in this movie. That's what his name
Oh,
is.
this movie. I don't give a shit.
Okay, well, I do. And yes, Peter Pettigrew in Harry Potter. And
Otherwise
then
known as Scabbers.
that's him.
That is such a wild twist.
I still think it's so funny. I know like everybody said this. Like I'm not saying that anything that anybody doesn't know, but I think it's crazy that the twins had the Marauders map for fucking years and they were watching their brother go to bed every night cuddled next to a man named Peter Pettigrew and they just didn't say anything. They were just like, no judgment, my guy. You got it.
They're either the very best or the very worst brothers.
Yeah. Well, considering who Peter Pettigrew ended up being, probably not great.
Yeah.
But
And
And then finally, last but not least, my girl Helena Bonham Carter, Mrs. Lovett in this movie, Bellatrix Lestrange in Harry Potter, once again proving she plays a crazy bitch well. That woman wants to fuck Voldemort so fucking bad.
Get away from her, you bitch.
Exactly.
Wait.
Well,
That's Sigourney Weaver in Aliens.
Well, that's no.
What does Mrs.
yes.
Weasley say?
Not my daughter, you bitch.
Okay, yeah.
Very close. But and then like a fuck ton of the musicians who did the score for this movie also did the score for Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I just want to shout out, not only does this have Harry Potter alumni, it has future Les Mis stars in Helena Bonham Carter and Sacha Baron Cohen.
True.
Who those two play the
master of the house.
Yeah.
I can't think of their names, but yeah. I always forget that Sacha Baron Cohen. I always forget that this is Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah. I did not know he was coming out.
I have a lot of
And a future Vecna.
That's true. Future Vecna.
Vecna.
Sorry. And a future fucking what's his face from the Mortal Instruments. If you know, you know.
Johnny Depp?
No.
Then I don't know.
Jamie Campbell Bower. That's
he
for
was
my
in.
fiction reading girlies. It's all good. All right, Austin.
I think I have to ask you first.
But mine's so good.
I know it is.
All right, ask me.
That's why you have to go first.
All right, ask me.
Would you die?
I would not die because I'm not a man and only men go to barbershops. Boom.
Yep.
I finally turned the tables, turned it around on you bitches.
Feminism.
So, Austin, would you die?
Seeing how I have a healthy amount of facial hair at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm not rich. I am Poe. No one would miss me when I'm gone.
Yeah.
When I'm gone.
Do
No one's going to miss me when I'm gone.
The Cup song does not belong in this musical.
A lot of things don't belong in this musical.
Like Johnny Depp?
Anna Kendrick would have made a better Sweeney Todd. Anna Kendrick could do Sondheim.
Probably. Yeah. Hang on. Stop. Anna Kendrick did do Sondheim. She is Cinderella in Into the Woods. Moving on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, now you do.
So I'm right.
You're correct. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm not used to being right. But yeah, I would die.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, Austin, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Austin M. Torres across the social media landscape, mostly Instagram and Letterboxd. That's where I use the most. Where can the people find you?
You can find me at Whims of Willow. Also across the social media landscape, same deal, mostly on Instagram. And I'm getting caught up on my Letterboxd.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
We're killing it. We're getting caught up. So that's great. And then you can find Would You Die at Would You Die Show everywhere. I shouldn't say we. Austin just did a live stream on our YouTube channel.
Yes. So listening to this, we did it last week with my friend Celise from Sweet and Spooky. We talked all about the Final Destination franchise, which that was a lot of fun. It was a great time. Check that out on YouTube. We're going to try and do at least one live stream a month.
Cool.
I don't really have them planned out, but at this moment, it's going to be June. Put in your calendars, June 11th. We're going to do something for Jurassic Park.
Nice.
I haven't decided what exactly we're doing or who I'm going to have on, but it's June 11th. That's Jurassic Park Day.
It's Jurassic Park.
We're doing something for Jurassic Park. Exactly.
Yep. This show is produced by Jeremy Lippitt. Our amazing music that you hear at the beginning and end of the episode is it was written by Josie Palmer. Our amazing graphics that we have are done by Alec Gibson at Crosshook Creative. Love the graphics.
Hey, you did it!
I tried my best.
That was pretty good. Off the cuff. Not prepared for it at all, I don't think. I wasn't. But
Austin, would you like to give a hint for what our show will be next week?
Next month?
Next month?
We're doing a switcheroo.
We are.
When thinking about the theme for next month, it goes back to the beginning.
True. It's a good one.
right?
I love it.
Right? And for the specific movie we're covering next week,
It goes back to the beginning. I'm just kidding.
yeah. It goes back to the beginning. Just be aware of the signs.
Real. So good.
So, yeah. I'm Austin Torres.
I'm Anneliese Petersmark.
Try not to die.